All right, Shalom. Before I start, I'm going to give all praises to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem, Rakak Kodash, the honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Peace, blessings, and salutations to all like to Akim Wa Aqua. Learning and teaching in truth and sincerity. Another video through the spirit. Your brother Malak from GMS Detroit. Hey, we about to look into something dealing with Rome, right? This is something I just found out about yesterday, which, you know, I may have seen or heard of it in the past, but you know, what is it? Out of sight, out of mind. I was reminded of it, I'll say. It's right here, you see, it says the Romans flooded the Colosseum for sea battles. All right, so something I came to find out, if you didn't know, y'all, in the Roman Colosseums, they used to hold, you know, fake water battles or fake naval warship battles. And that's quite the feat, right? That's quite the feat. And why I'm tying this in, you know, the whole point of doing this video, tying it in with that Revelation 13, this is how we know who that dragon is, y'all. It tells us that through the dragon, he got his power. Rome was the greatest of Esau, Edom's kingdoms, as it was biblically promised and prophesied. It would be a great kingdom, which we see America function in that same system and order today. That's how we know who the Edomites are. That's how we know that America is Rome revived. All right, and you see that the same system of entertainment that Rome had to keep the masses distracted, America popularizes and uses the very same fucking thing. Many different forms. All right, but that main one being that goddamn Colosseum, to keep people distracted, watching the football, watching the basketball, hell, you know, the whole Olympic Games. We're not doing a worldwide Bangladeshi Games or worldwide Ethiopian Games or worldwide Punjabi Games. Why is the Olympics the world-renowned event that all nations uphold to? Why? Because Esau, Edom is in the power seat. All right, but let's let this video play. We're going to get some scriptures. All right. You Christians, y'all ain't going to like this one. See, we can go into that Revelation and break it down. We can go into that Daniel and break it down, because we have no problem telling the truth about who ruled it then and who's ruling it now. So let's dive in.
The cry of the crowd, the roar of a lion, the clash of metal.
I'm going to use this as the video title or the backdrop picture. It says, while stands the Colosseum, Rome shall stand. When falls the Colosseum, Rome shall fall. And when Rome falls, the world. Hey, and that's the spirit that Edom is in. As long as his shit is running, it's good. But when it's time for him to fall, he wants to bring everything down with him. All right. Esau is the end of the world. Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Let's go.
The cry of the crowd, the roar of a lion, the clash of metal. Starting in 80 CE, these sounds rang through the stands of the Colosseum. On
80 CE is when this Colosseum in particular, the amphitheater, was set up. 80 CE is 80 AD. 80 Anno Domini, year of our Lord. So this is 10 years after 70 AD. So you can have an idea of these time periods.
hundreds of days a year, over 50,000 residents of Rome and visitors from across the Roman Empire would fill the stadium's 4 stories to see gladiators duel, animals fight, and chariots race around the.
And that's another part of this video. Esau Edom is a bloody fucking killer. He loves murdering. He loves to watch murder. That's why in this world today, death and unrighteous killing is popularized. You know, the video games, the movies, the television shows. He has a hard-on for taking life, as prophesied.
Arena. And for the grand finale, water poured into the arena basin, submerging the stage for the greatest spectacle of all, staged naval battles. The Romans' epic mock maritime encounters, called Naumachii, started during Julius Caesar's reign in the 1st century BC.
100 years before Yahushua was born, 100 BC, Julius Caesar.
over 100 years before the Colosseum was built. They were held alongside other aquatic spectacles on natural and artificial bodies of water around Rome, up through Emperor Flavius Vespasian, who began building the Colosseum in 70 CE.
Vespasian, y'all. 70 CE is 70 AD. He began building it as while putting us through hell. Because if you remember, if you know the history as you should, Vespasian was called to be the next Roman emperor. If I remember exactly correctly, after Nero. Then after him, his when he was called to be emperor, his sons took over the siege of Jerusalem. All right, his sons being Titus and Domitian.
On the site of a former lake. The Colosseum was intended to be a symbol of Rome's power in the ancient world. And what better way to display
a symbol of Rome's power in the ancient world
that power than a body of water that could drain and refill at the emperor's command? Vespasian's son, Flavius Titus, fulfilled his father's dream in 80 CE when he used war spoils to finish the Colosseum. Or, as it...
War spoils from who, y'all? What did he just get done doing? He wrecked us. Jerusalem, 70 AD, which stretched, finished us off in 74 AD. The last stronghold being Masada.
Was known at the time, the Flavian Amphitheatre. The grand opening was celebrated with 100 days of pageantry and gladiatorial games, setting the precedent for programming that included parades, musical performances, public executions, and, of course, gladiatorial combat. Unlike the games in smaller amphitheatres funded by wealthy Romans, these lavish displays of imperial power were financed by the emperor. Parades of exotic animals, theatrical performances, and the awe-inspiring Naumachii were all designed to bolster faith in the godlike emperor, who would be declared a god after his own death. It's still a mystery how engineers flooded the arena to create this aquatic effect. Some historians believe a giant aqueduct.
So right here, let's get that revelation now, y'all, because they said it's still a mystery how the ancient Romans were able to flood out the Colosseum, which is pretty, that's quite the fucking accomplishment. Some ancient world, you wouldn't think that they would have the ability, to do something like that. But that is a part of the allure of the beast, y'all, through his miracles, man. Esau Edom back then and in today's time, he has brought these people to see him as a god, to see him as having the pinnacle of technology, to being the standard of beauty, right? His capabilities that the Heavenly Father has given him. Revelation 13. I want to start right at where is it at? Okay, I'm starting right at verse 2. Revelation 13 and 2. And the beast which I saw was like unto a lamb. Aslaki was like unto a leopard. That leopard is the Greeks, beginning with Alexander. And his feet were as the feet of a bear, the Russians. And his mouth as the mouth of a lion, Brits. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. So let's look at some of those words. And what is that dragon? We know that dragon was Rome, all right? All those kingdoms are Edomite kingdoms, but we know that Rome was the great Edomite kingdom that gave him his power. Still to this day, there are accomplishments that Rome did that have people in shock and awe. You still got that weak-ass leaning tower. What do they call it? The Tower of Giza or whatever. You still got some of the Colosseums still standing to this day. All right. These are some of the signs to let us know who he is. All right. Gave him his power. G1411. Dynamis. All right. It should remind you of the word dynamic. Right. Strength, power, ability, inherent power. It says power residing in a thing by virtue of its nature, or which a person or thing exerts and put forth. Right. So these people, or I'll say Rome, it had ability, it had strength, it had inherent power, right? Moral power and excellence of soul. They didn't have that. Definition D, The power and influence which belonged to riches and wealth. They had that. Plenty of influence through their wealth, through their capabilities, right? Their empire stretched for a good distance. Therefore, they had much influence over that part of the world. Power and resources arising from numbers. Power consisting in or resting upon armies, forces, hosts, which we definitely should know that. Through his military, he was able to enforce. That's the teeth and the claws of the beast. Because if you disagreed with them boys will come knocking on your door. All right. Going back in Daniel, what did it say? Teeth of iron. That military come knock on your door. And when the Romans came knocking, they didn't ask twice. We have the word power. Now we'll get seat and authority. Seat. G2362. Thronos. Throne seat. It says a chair of state having footstool, assigned in the New Testament to kings, henceforth kingly power or royalty. Metaphor to God, govern the world. We don't need definition 2. It's not him. Let's see. Yeah. So basically, this lets you know. He was through his ability, that power, right? The dynamis, the first word, it set up his throne, his ability to rule. He was able to rule from the power that he had. That's what this is dealing with here. Esau Edom had the throne seat because of Rome. He still has it to this day. When he was coming back in power, as it tells us in Revelation 20, says he would go out and deceive the world, right? When you look at the Renaissance period, when Esau Edom was coming back into power, 13 to 1400s, you look at Great Britain as it was rising up. What style did they take on? Did they take on the style of ancient Mesopotamia? Did they take on the style of, the ancient Zulus? Did they take on the style of some motherfuckers from Tasmania? No. They took on the antiquity of classical Greece and Rome. Why? Because that's where that's the power. Okay? It's not by any coincidence nor by any mistake. They chose to fashion and model themselves after ancient Greece and Rome. And we see it in today's time still. The architecture, the malls come from Rome. These city streets, Rome. These much of the clothing, the logos of the icons, Nike shoes and shit, right? Come on, man. Authority. Exosia. G1849. Power of choice, liberty of doing as one pleases. Leave or permission, physical and mental power, the ability or strength with which one is endued, which he either possesses or exercises, right? So through his power, he's sitting in the throne seat and he's exercising his authority. Esau Edom has been given the ability to do what the fuck he wants on the earth. And has he been doing anything righteous with it? No. And where does it all stem back to, y'all? Rome. Definition 3, the power of authority, influence, and right. The power of rule of government, the power of him whose will and commands must be submitted to by others and obeyed. When you go to court, what form of language do they use? What is what's that shit called, y'all? Oh, forgive me. All right here, y'all. Legalese. These are some of the phrases that pop up, but literally we use Latin in the United States court system across the fucking planet several thousands of years later. But there's no connection? Man, come on, man. Ad hoc, certiorari, per curiam, by the court, right? Prima facie, mean on its face. Amicus curiae, friend of the court. Ex parte, from one party. Habeas corpus. Bring a body before the court. Wow. Ad litem. So this is how we know that this place is heavily influenced by ancient Rome. Therefore, who could fit this prophecy? You go to Revelation 13:3 now. And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded unto death. Which head was wounded? The dragon, which was Rome. And his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wandered after the beast. How was it healed? By way of America. When America was erected, it was set up and modeled after ancient Rome, which is why we're speaking fucking English to this day. Okay, and the world wandered after it. This place, the Heavenly Father put it on the spirit of the Edomites here to rapidly advance in technology. We went from horse and buggy for thousands of years to rapid, flying planes in the sky within people's lifetimes, y'all. There are certain people who were born in the 1800s who was riding that horse and buggy, who had a lamp, who lived to see a fucking airplane. That's some serious business. Think about that, y'all. If you was somebody who was born in, let's say, I'll be generous, right? Let's say mid 1800s. Let's say motherfucker born in, I'll say around slavery. Let's say somebody born in 1865. When 1900 came, they was in their 40s. I'll be generous. Let's say 40 more years. They was in 1940. They was 80 years old. They could have hopped in a jet. That's how we know who this head was revived as today, because he's coming in that same power. Now you read another verse. What does it say? And they worshiped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast. And they worshiped the beast, saying, who is like unto the beast, who is able to make war with him? All right. So seeing all of this power that this so-called great country is capable of, back then the nations were afraid, right? If we read further down, the miracles, right? He shot the missiles down, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Little Man and Fat Boy, and it put the world on spot to bow down and to shut their mouth up when it came to America, to obey. That's why this place, this is how we know that this place is Rome revived. One of many different things. All right, so I'm gonna let this play out. Then I got another clip to look at more of the mentality of this man. So that's another thing. So we see that, this is something he adopted to this day. And with them Colosseums, and Lord willing, that's another video I'm gonna do off the back of it, y'all, because he used them Colosseums to persecute us, the Israelites. This guy's a demon. He wasn't doing nothing righteous in them Colosseums. Death and fucking. That's death, fucking, and eating. Gluttony, lust, and murder.
Some historians believe a giant aqueduct was diverted into the arena. Others think the system of chambers and sluice gates used to drain the arena were also used to fill it. These chambers could have been filled with water prior to the event and then opened to submerge the stage under more than 1 million gallons of water to create a depth of 5 feet. But even with all that water, the Romans had to construct miniature boats with special flat bottoms that wouldn't scrape the Colosseum floor. These boats ranged from 7 to 15 meters long and were built to look like vessels from famous encounters. During a battle, dozens of these ships would float around the arena, crewed by gladiators dressed as the opposing sides of the recreated battle. These warriors would duel across ships, boarding them, fighting, drowning, and incapacitating their foes until only one faction was left standing. Fortunately, not every watery display told such a gruesome story. In some of these...
I'm sorry, y'all. Esau's just a killer, man. He just loves watching death and participating in death, and he's normalized that culture in the world. Here it is, motherfuckers talk crazy, or they have an issue with us when we say what's gonna happen in the future, even though we've done nothing, what the Lord's gonna do, right? But these people actually love watching people get their faces beat out, smashed in the boxing ring, in the MMA cage. Dudes get their necks slashed in hockey, throw their helmets off and get to fight and get to squabbling. Motherfuckers getting knocked, concussion with in football, neck break, right? This is that same demonic energy back in the world. that Esau has helped pushed out. Not helped. He was the author of pushing out.
Floodings, a submerged stage, allowed chariot drivers to glide across the water as though they were Triton, making waves as he piloted his chariot on the
Idolatry. So they, so it was deep enough for the ships to be on, but it was just shallow enough to where a dude could ride through on his horse, pretending like he's a fucking god riding on water, man. We gonna and Esau with his technology, he can make things appear as they're not. He can make it look like a human is flying in his movies or in his TV shows. Okay, if you weren't taught any better as a child, you would think people could fly. You would think the Hulk was real. You would think Superman was real, if you weren't told otherwise.
sea. Animals walked on water. Myths were reenacted by condemned prisoners. And, at night, nude synchronized swimmers would perform by torchlight. But the Colosseum's aquatic age didn't last forever. The naval battles proved so popular they were given their own nearby lake by Emperor Domitian in the early 90s CE.
Yep, so 20 years after 70 AD, Domitian moved it. So what we're going to do now, we'll go over here. It tells you a little bit more, getting a little bit more in-depth into some of the shit going on in the Colosseums. The unfair matches of the Roman Colosseum, y'all. If you was tossed in there and you wasn't a trained, fucking gladiator killer, you're probably about to lose your life. Whether it was, by the animals, by another poor slave, right? They wasn't doing no good in there. And this culture is magnified in America. People sitting in chairs in a stadium watching people go crazy in that stadium, harming each other. That's glorified in this world. All right. And who's the perpetrator? The Romans. Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. All over again. Niggas say I'm lying. All right, so let's let this play a little bit.
Knowledge is power. Power to solve today's most complex problems.
You would think that.
All right, hey, this guy, he's a bit of a comedian, trying to be, so, he's gonna be making little jokes and shit. But there's you can see the difference. Chapters. You have blind fighters, naval battles, which we went over, gladiator fights, animal battles, 1v2s, dwarf versus women, wild animal hunts, man versus beast, prisoners versus professionals, and then rig matches. So there's a lot going on in there. We'll just take a little gloss over some of them.
Let's start with the unfair and slowly work our way towards the most brutal matchups on the list. Number 10, blind fighters. Antibadia were criminals who would be forced to fight completely blind. They would be given a straight sword and a helmet for protection. Except the helmet was practically a curse, since it was completely sealed off, preventing the fighter from seeing or hearing anything. The fight would begin as soon as the fighters were placed within close range of one another, with the most popular strategy being the swing and pray method, which in all honesty, was the only strategy available. Now the good news is that judges weren't really.
So Esau would pit people against each other, blindfolded, and have them swing until somebody fucking died. Imagine, nigga, you don't know where you get poked in the knee, and the eyeball, in the nuts, shoulder blade cut out, goddamn lose function of your arm. That's entertainment. The crowds used to go crazy. But that's the spirit of Esau. He lives by what, y'all? He loves blood. He loves murder. He loves death. He glorifies it. It's to the point now to where everybody on planet Earth, has some sort of fucking, even bitches, you got these little bitches like horror movies. They love watching somebody get fucking shanked out, get her little, she get aroused by people getting murdered, man. Little demonic bastards. Genesis 47 and 40. And by thy sword shalt thou live and serve thy brother, and it shall come to pass when thou shalt have the dominion that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. All right, so we know that Esau Edom gained dominion over the world through his sword, through warfare. He creates weapons designed to take life. Back then, they were, sword and shield. Now they have evolved into guns and ultimately into bombs. right, and vehicles and whatnot. So people who are obsessed with killing by proxy, what are they going to find entertainment in killing? And that's what they have spread to the world. Now, granted, we're not, us Israelites, you know, we're warriors as well, right? We're not unaccustomed to laying lives down. But you don't read anywhere, you know, in the times of David, you know, he is setting up coliseums of motherfuckers just killing themselves for no damn reason. When we take life, it's for a reason. Now, in the kingdom, all right, we might have to, you know, get Esau back. You know, we're going to put we're going to put the motherfuckers in some pits and let y'all boys go at it as payback. But in general, we were not a people who, you know, you didn't have the Levites in a pit wrestling naked, you know, whoever loses get their head chopped off. All that shit comes from Edom, y'all. You know, give the thumbs down and the dude's head get cut off. Man, this dude was just a baker from down the street who fell into some debt and got took up by the guards, and now he's getting his head cut off because he lost a fight to a fucking professional gladiator. That's unholy as hell. But that's the spirit of Edom, and that's what he glorifies. Next one, we'll jump down to gladiator fights.
With number 8, gladiator fights. Gladiator fights were the single most popular matches of the Colosseum, with the good match.
I'm sorry, y'all. All right, Salaki, y'all. Gladiator battles.
With number 8, gladiator fights. Gladiator fights were the single most popular matches of the Colosseum, with the good matchups typically being saved for the main event. Now, how can two gladiators fighting each other be unfair, you might ask? Well, for starters, the emperors weren't really interested in fairness, as their primary concern was entertainment. And with over 20 different classes of gladiators to choose from, the styles would be mixed and matched based on entertainment alone.
Hey, if you ever watched that show Spartacus, you know, some of these names would be familiar. You know, Murmillo, Cestus, Provocator, Thrakes, right? Which these are different styles, you know, they would pit people up. Some to fight to the death, some they would step in and stop. But once again, this just highlights the violent nature of Esau Edom, which, let me go back to Revelation real quick. Because when you look at that word beast, what do you see? He's not called the swan or the, you know, the sea turtle. He's called a beast for a reason. Therion, G2342, an animal, a wild beast, metaphor, a brutal, bestial man, savage and ferocious, which is in his nature, which is why he had no problem, you know, forcing people to kill themselves or fight animals, or, you know, more commonly, you know, with his military, because that's what it's more so directed at. He's a demon on the battlefield in the sense of unholy and unrighteous. All right, them Greeks and Romans they were not good nor nice people under any circumstance.
And with over 20 different retiarius were equipped with a net, a trident, a dagger, and minimal armor, while the secutor was equipped with a sword, a large shield, a helmet, and heavy armor. Go ahead, pick one. If you chose the secutor, well, GG's, you're dead, as the retiarius just had to keep his distance and poke at the secutor. Or better yet, trap him by throwing his net on him, giving him enough time to emote before poking him to death.
Yep. So, hey, animal battles. This one right here.
Good glad.
People were watching people get decapitated. You know, fucking spear launched through your heart, eating and talking shit. Same shit today, y'all. These people in their ultra vicarious lives on the couch watching, you know, what's some famous football players? Matt Favre, Odell Beckham, Randy Moss, what's that nigga's name? Barry Sanders, you know, Deion Sanders, OJ back in the day. I'm just using football as one of them, right? Watching motherfuckers just slam their bodies into each other at retarded speeds. And that's entertainment. Why? Because he's a beast.
gladiators were very expensive to replace. Number 7. Animal battles. Humans were not the only ones to have unfair matchups inside of the Colosseum, since animals were also treated like criminals. They would be enslaved, pinned against each other, and humiliated, and were such a popular spectacle that at times, thousands of animals would be slaughtered in a given day, which was completely unsustainable, driving many animals to extinction.
Completely unsustainable, driving animals into extinction, which the Heavenly Father, when that happens, he just seals them away for a time. But that's the spirit of Esau Edom. That's how we know it's him all over again. He doesn't care about killing off important creatures, literally wiping them out for his entertainment. Oh, well, hey, just wipe them out. Nothing, ifs, ands, or buts about it. The same spirit he has in now. All right, how many animals that used to roam the American frontier that ain't been seen for a couple hundred years because this devil got down here and did his thing? The wild American buffalo, right? The dodo bird. Come on, man. You have to see it.
Here are some of the most popular and unfair matchups that were commonly seen in the Colosseum. Elephant versus rhino. One of the most famous Colosseum battles was when an enraged rhino was pinned against an elephant. This matchup is basically a robbery, as I'm sure the locals would have bet. As you can imagine, when an animal has over 10,000 pounds on its opponent, it's not really going to be much of a fight, is it? But just to make matters worse, sometimes the elephant and the bull would be chained together. Rhino versus bear, rhino versus buffalo, rhino versus elephant, crocodile versus hippo, tiger versus bear, bear versus bull, bear versus wolves, goro versus scorpion, lion versus bull, lion versus bear, lion versus panther, lion versus chimp, lion versus hyenas, lion versus...
Hey, and what does the scripture say about that? A righteous man regardeth the life of his beast, but the tender mercies of the wicked are cruel. So Esau Edom didn't give a damn, y'all. He didn't give a damn. So not only were people unsafe, also the animals. And go back to the Revelation. What was it told that he was going to take from the earth? Salakia. Revelation 6 and 4. And there went out another horse that was red, representing Edom, and power, right, was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, that they should kill one another, and there was given unto him a great sword. So this man has had power. With his power, has he done anything great with it? No. He built up giant colosseums to make things kill each other in there. With his space, with his technology to create rockets, are we on other planets, learning how to grow and harvest? No, he uses rockets to propel bombs to blow shit up. Has he created, underwater sea utopias for us to live in, since the sea is massive? No, he's polluting the sea. Everything he creates is death, and it has its roots. He's been a demon. He's been a monster. He's been a problem. Not just now.
Shiprats were not invited, but they showed up anyways. Number 3. Man versus Beast. Man versus Beast matches were one-on-one battles and were the second most popular spectacle, only behind gladiator fights. Now there were basically two ways that this matchup would be arranged, with both of them tailored for maximum entertainment for the crowd. The first one was when a professional slave or volunteer fighter known as a bestiarius would face off with a terrifying beast. The animal could be anything from a lion, leopard, tiger, bear, or any other large and powerful creature. These battles would typically end with the animal being defeated, even if the bestiarius took heavy damage. On the other hand, the second matchup was much more bloody and typically ended with the man being torn to pieces. Here, a criminal or prisoner of war would be forced to face off with the animal.
And many of those were Christians, the Israelites, and I'm gonna do a whole nother video on that. They would toss us in there to be mauled to death by animals.
Little to no training, it was only a matter of time before the man would become an anatomy lesson. And it definitely didn't help that the animals were starved for long periods of time before they were brought out, making them a lot more angry and aggressive. There was even a single lion that took out over 200 men before it was finally defeated, which is obviously a padded record, since it clearly fought nothing but tomato cans. Oh, I should also mention there is another event that was very popular and is somewhat related, where a criminal was tied to a stake and then a wild animal would be released to eat him alive. You know, you would think that this would be
Yeah, so you tell me, y'all, are these good people? This is what your modern day America is fashioned and modeled after. So it's no wonder that, you turn on the news every 2 seconds and what do you see? Somebody baby over here got their head smushed. Somebody over here got shot the fuck down. Somebody over here, kidnapped this person, did that to him, had him chained down here and there. All right. Esau comes from a lineage of evil. And it resonates to this day. Okay. He can't escape it. He's been revealed. And I could have went to you go through Maccabees, man, you see that let me see. You see that our people were starting to get into his customs, right? The games, it tells you, I'm sorry, let me get that one real quick. Quick. Jason. Where is it at? Right. And I'm just pulling this up just to show you. It's the word there is actually supposed to be 5th year, not faith. So coming back here, for some reason it says faith right here.
Now in the game.
Mistype. They're supposed to say 5th. We know Jason, right? He was a wicked Israelite, and he helped forcibly Hellenize Israelites into the way of Greekish fashion, forcing them to keep Greek customs, right? So I'm just reading this, 2 Maccabees 2:18. It says, now when the game that was used every 5th year was kept at Tyrus, the king being present, this ungracious Jason sent special messengers from Jerusalem who were Antiochians to carry 300 drachms of silver to the sacrifice of Hercules, which even the bearers thereof thought fit not to bestow upon the sacrifice, because it was not convenient, but to be reserved for other charges. So they would hold games, which I'm not saying this is exactly the Olympics, but we know this is a custom of the Greeks, these athletic events that, people would come and gaze upon, which in today's time, we hold the Olympics. The word Olympic goes back to Olympus, all right? The so-called, the false bullshit mythology, the Greek mountain where the gods reside. Why is that word even in America? Why is it in English vocabulary? Why is it being used today? Because this is Edom, Rome, back again in today's time. That's why, all right? And coincidentally, you go back, you go First Maccabees. What did our people start doing? First Maccabees 1:13, it says, then certain of the people were so froward herein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinances of the heathen, whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem according to the customs of the heathen. What is that place of exercise? A gymnasium. All right, in today's world, gymnasiums exist and are a very popular thing here in America, all the way across the world. Why? Because this is Rome all over again. All right?
You understand your pet like no one else, but there are things they can't tell you.
where a
This is this man's kingdom all over again. And if someone has a problem admitting it, they're not being honest. It just is what it is. So that's about it, y'all. Just highlighting and showing how, we are in that kingdom, that wounded head revived. All right. He gained his authority in this world by way of Rome. All right. And he still practices many manners and customs of ancient Rome to this day, which he forces people of the world to observe and spiritually worship, to give obeisance to give credence to. All right, motherfuckers is running around with goddamn Latin names still to this day. All right, so that's about it. I'm going to give all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakha Korash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Peace, blessings, and salutations to all the elect Akim, Wa Akwath, learning and teaching in truth and sincerity. Shalom.